iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz.
You know you're a Tony nominee when you get this magical pin a couple days after the nominations come out. It's so special. I don't know how to explain that part. It's really, really lovely.
You know you're a Tony nominee when your Instagram DMs have filled up and you have not gotten through them after 3 days.
When you eat, sleep, and dream it even before it arrives, you're a Tony nominee. You can attach yourself to someone that you support, even if the pin is not yours personally. You know you're a Tony nominee when you celebrate everyone that is a Tony nominee every year until you stand in this place. I mean, that's how.
You know you're a Tony nominee when Ben Platt taps your shoulder and turns you around and tells you that he loves you. And I almost fainted.
You get 1,000 texts within a span of 5 minutes.
You know you're a Tony nominee when you have this pin on your lapel. That's when it hits home.
You know you're a Tony nominee when Audra McDonald makes a post with Broadway Direct saying, "Hey, Jordan Cooper, Tony nominee." What? Audra McDonald? The queen, the Beyonce of Broadway.
You know you're a Tony nominee when you cross the world to do a press conference.
You know you're a Tony nominee when your phone blows up more than it ever has in your entire life. And you can't possibly catch up with it all.
You know you're a Tony nominee when Kristen Chenoweth sends you flowers.
You know you're a Tony nominee when you keep crying in random blocks in the city.
You know you're a Tony nominee when you're up way too early on a day where you have a show.
You know you're a Tony nominee when your daughter screams it from the top of her voice at 7 o'clock in the morning.
You know you're a Tony nominee when your phone blows up and you're getting so much love from your friends and your colleagues. That's when you know.
You know you're a Tony nominee when thousands of people send you messages all at once. And congratulations.
You know you're a Tony nominee when LaShawn says hello to you.
You know you're a Tony nominee when you have to start figuring out, what am I going to wear?
You know you're a Tony nominee when you get this pin that I'm wearing, which I did not know I'd get this morning, and I'm really excited about it.
You know you're a Tony nominee when you run out of Listerine strips.
You know you're a Tony nominee when you hear your name announced on television telling you you're a Tony nominee.
When you start crying when the phone rings.
You know you're a Tony nominee when your press agent calls you and says so.
Oh, you know you're a Tony nominee when you're wearing a pin, right? Otherwise I wouldn't have known.
You know you're a Tony nominee when everybody you ever knew starts texting you and say congratulations.
You know you're a Tony nominee when somebody stops you in the lobby and thanks you. I can't tell you what that's like. You know, nobody knows who the directors and the writers are, basically. You know but when suddenly you get somebody stopping you at the show and saying, thank you for doing this, you think to yourself, only Tony nominees get that feeling.
When you get one of these.
You know you're a Tony nominee when you're standing in front of a ring light and people ask you this question, because it really never happens otherwise.
When you get 300 texts within 15 minutes.
You know you're a Tony nominee when you meet LaShawn's.
You have 2 pins on your jacket.
You know you're a Tony nominee when Miles Frost says you're a Tony nominee.
When they make you hold the mic yourself.
You know you're a Tony nominee when you wake up to 200 texts.
You know you're a Tony nominee when the guy at my deli says, yo, you design Broadway, don't you?
You know you're a Tony nominee
when you've gotten more text messages than you could possibly imagine.
You know you're a Tony nominee when you wake up on a Tuesday and you have 100 text messages.
You know you're a Tony nominee when you get this cute little pin. Look at that.
You know you're a Tony nominee when you're walking down the hall of a hotel and Audra McDonald says, "Congratulations."
You know you're a Tony nominee when your mom calls you and screams in your ear so loud that you drop the phone.
You know you're a Tony nominee when your phone goes off in the morning and it's buzzing and buzzing and you think, what is that? And then you look and then you burst into tears. And then you know you're a Tony nominee.
You don't sleep.
You know, you're a Tony nominee when you get to come to these junkets and talk to a lot of folks and promote the show and run into old friends and celebrate the moment.
You know you're a Tony nominee when your phone starts to shut down from lack of storage because you've gotten so many texts and calls and emails in the span of 1 hour.
You know you're a Tony nominee when it takes you 3 hours to return your texts and emails.
You know you're a Tony nominee when they give you a little pin, and I got two.
You know you're a Tony nominee when your phone is blowing up and you don't know what's going on, and you're like, oh snap, I just got nominated for a Tony.
iHeartRadio Broadway, driven by Mercedes-Benz.